right? You don't get to choose whether or not the enemy gets a vote. And I love where you talked about not only does not only will they use subtle tactics, right? That it looks like it's right? It sounds like it's right. It's almost exactly what it needs to be. And if you're not paying attention to more than just what they're saying, you might get
Yep.
tricked, right? Because it's
Yep.
got to be more than just, you've got to be aligned with the spirit. You've got to be understanding as to what their position is and what do they want out of this, whatever's going on. You have to understand what do you stand to lose in this moment. And that's any conflict, right? I thought that was
Yeah.
a powerful piece of the book that you put down, how they leverage truth against us, or with the perception as to what could be truth when it's veiled, right? It's not
Yep.
true, right?
Yep. And the devil comes as an angel of light. He masquerades as an angel of light.
Do you know, Athena, I learned something not too long ago that kind of blew my mind. And it's that we live everyone always said we live in the devil's playground, right? But ultimately, this is the devil's world. This ain't God's world. God's world's heaven, right? This is his world. And we are all put down here to have our experiences, to have our journeys. And we've got all we need to survive and to be successful and to thrive here. Right. But do not think that we have the upper hand. The minute you start to think you've got the upper hand, besides we've been saved, right? We have that. But a lot of people unfortunately lose, which is everything, right? But people lose sight of the goal when they start to think that they've got it all figured out. And then it goes back to you were talking about earlier, the whole idolatry thing, because we don't have anything figured out without God, right?
That's right.
My mom says, you want to hear God laugh? Tell him you got a plan, right?
Yeah.
You want to hear God laugh? You tell me you got a plan, right? And that's huge, right? And I think when it comes to the message of your book, it's just for people that are trying to recognize that they've got to reinvent themselves, or they've got to possibly get back onto a road that's going the right direction, or they've got to change something about their life. It's recognizing that some of the truths they've unfortunately possibly been following are maybe not as accurate as they believe them to be, you know? You have one of the things about forgiveness being one of the most powerful weapons in our arsenal. And look, it's everything, right? Forgiveness is everything. I read a book one time where it said that if you let hate in your heart, it's like venom from a spot from a like snake. And if you don't get the venom out, you're gonna, of course, you're gonna die. So how have you learned since this whole thing with the 2 years past, and how have you learned to better leverage forgiveness to make it a better, or what's your advice to somebody who's struggling and forgiving someone to make it be a better weapon in their arsenal?
Well, I think recognizing, and I always say, look, God forgave me when I didn't deserve it. So why shouldn't I forgive you, even though maybe you don't deserve it?